And I will call the Londonderry Heritage Commission to order for May 22nd, 2025. And we have 5 voting members here. I will appoint David to vote for Chris. Chris Kenny cannot make it here tonight, so I'll be doing the chairing, and we can proceed. So first item on the agenda is we have approval of minutes. This will be minutes from March 27th, 2025. So if everyone is set with them, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes.
I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second that.
Motion by David, second by
David.
the other David.
David Ellis,
David E.
for those of you in
David
the
C.
audience
made
who
the
don't know
motion.
me.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Abstentions, and chair votes affirmative, and the minutes pass 5-0-0. We have 2 design reviews, and as we go through these design reviews, the planning board makes the decision on them. The Heritage Commission makes a recommendation to the planning board. So we just send suggestions to the planning board. The planning board is to the planning board, and we are not the final decision makers on it. But we do make recommendations, and we tend to work together. So the first one is an application for a design review of a site plan for 24,000 square foot warehouse and associated site improvements in the industrial 2 zone and agricultural residential 1 district, 42 Wentworth Avenue, tax map 14, lot 44-36. Stephen W. Tippett is the applicant, and Yelsu LLC, CO Textile Coated International is the owner. So, a familiar face tonight, so, but officially introduce yourself for our
Yep.
records, please.
Good evening. My name's Jason Lopez, Keach Nordstrom Associates, and here tonight representing Yelsu LLC for a piece of property at 42 Wentworth Ave. A little bit of history on, well, first, we've got a proposal to construct a 24,000 square foot warehouse for storage of textile products manufactured by TCI. They're located over on Bouchard Street in Londonderry, right on the Manchester line. So they've got a manufacturing plant, need place to store product, so they want to build this. They own this property, want to build the warehouse for storage, long-term and short-term storage. Little history on the property. It was created back in 2000. It's the Ecological Industrial Park. Back in 2001, there was an approved site plan for a 61,200 square foot warehouse on that site. Site construction started. They used the property for staging for that power company that sits out back behind Stonyfield Farms.
Yeah, that's Granite Ridge.
Yeah, so they obtained on that previously approved site plan back in 2007. There was a site plan vesting letter that was issued by town planner Mr. Thompson at the time.
Yes.
So the reason they're not building that site plan is the site-specific permit expired, and we couldn't get a new alteration terrain permit to meet that same site plan for the drainage facility they had. So we're back to square one on the site plan. In 2001, the town adopted the wetland setback as part of the ordinance. So this original site plan and some of the site disturbance that took place didn't account for today's wetland buffer. So much of the site's already cleared. Detention ponds were already built. The site was brought to grade for the previous proposal. So now today, We've got that 24,000 square foot warehouse you see up on the screen there. That property sits off the end of the cul-de-sac. You can't quite see it from the public road. There is a power line easement that runs between the cul-de-sac and where we're proposing the building. Much of that power line easement is, I think it's even been recently cleared by the power line company, but there's still some wooded buffer that will keep most of it from sight from the public road. It's going to be a pre-engineered metal building, high bay, entry door, and some windows in the front and a little office area, 2 loading docks in the back, low pitch, metal roof. So there you can see the lot highlighted. You can see that they got some trailers parked out in the middle of the property now. You can see the clearing. Off the right side of the lot is that power line easement. So you've got a wetland channel where that tree line runs up north-south. Much of that tree line is going to be maintained because that's your wetlands and wetland buffer. So trees in the utility corridor would be cleared. The rest of the trees would be maintained. We're going to be trimming a little bit of the trees on the perimeter of that clearing just to, grading and slopes. But for the most part, we got that visual block and buffer for where the development's taking place. We do have a rendering on that building so you can get an idea what it's going to be, but it's your standard, prefab metal building. We will have a small site sign. It's going to be, so there you go, it's going to be the blue, that's their company color, low pitch metal roof. This is the back on the loading dock bay, so that's the rear. I do not have a rendering of what the front side is going to look like. The company that makes the buildings just provided this one perspective.
You must have a door on the front side, I assume.
Yeah, they're just going to have a small office. They're not going to, it's not really going to be a manned facility 24/7, or even 7 days a week. They've got their main facility that's just over in the airport district. So they'll have people come over, accept deliveries, put stuff in storage, then go back to the main facility. So it's going to be a very, trucks in and out, but it's not going to be full-time employees there all week. So they just got a small office up front. They'll have their door and windows for that. In terms of site signage, they don't want any signs on the building. They do want a small sign out by the cul-de-sac with just the name of the business, so delivery drivers know where they're going, and the site address just for 911 purposes, but no large signage. Landscaping, we do have a landscape plan, going to do just a little bit in front of the building. Red maples, mesquite lilac, azalea, juniper, daylily, fairly simple. And we do have a lighting plan. It's all going to be pretty much building-mounted lights, LED, dark sky compliant. There will be 4 pole lights in a couple of the parking areas and one out back by the loading dock area. So I think it's a fairly simple project. It can take questions, more direct questions
Okay.
on the proposal.
Kristen, you have anything?
No.
Nope. I'll start, David.
What's that?
You're all set, John.
So we aren't seeing, I understand, Jason, you said that you really can't see this from the,
Yep.
there's a rotary right in front of this building, right? From
Well,
sort of the end of the street?
yeah, there you go, up on the screen. So you can see the cul-de-sac.
Yep.
There's a shared drive. It's a secondary access point that goes out back to the power plant.
Going the right way?
No, you got a
Keep going.
180, yep. There you go.
Ah, there
So-
we go.
That's
Yeah.
that right of way.
Yep. So there's the power line easement, and You get that tree line, which is gonna be maintained because it's all within the wetlands and wetland buffer.
So the front of the building will not be visible from the street?
It shouldn't, no, it shouldn't. There's some evergreen and stuff. Now, will parts of it peek through if, you know, in the winter with with foliage down possibly? I'm not gonna
I'm
say it
asking
can't be
Jay-
seen, but it's not right in front of the road visible,
I'm
yeah.
asking Jason because it's a little different for us to only see the railroad building.
Yeah,
It's going to be presented, so.
the manufacturer of the building, that's all they provided was that rear view, and I don't know why.
Well, maybe we could follow that up, not necessarily in a meeting, but
Yep.
maybe you could follow up through planning and get them a copy of what the front of the building's gonna look like.
Yeah, I'll ask the client to reach out to them and see if they can produce
Then
that.
Kristen can distribute to us.
Yeah. That's fine. This is a warehouse. Is this finished goods going in here?
Yeah, finished goods, they make over in their other facility over on Bouchard.
Okay.
They'll bring it in.
Um,
Smaller box trucks coming over, unloading, stored in the shelving.
So the company's own trucks or 18-wheelers coming in from?
Their own trucks bringing the product back and forth, but then they have shipping company that will come in and pick up for, pickups to deliver elsewhere.
Chemical storage here?
No. It's all fabric type products, textile.
Beyond
products.
our purview, but this has been reviewed with the folks over in fire for, because I reading up a little bit on textile coatings.
Yep.
I know you can run into some issues with PTFEs and fires and leading
Yep.
to PFAS.
Building sprinkled, we gotta still go through that. We're in design review right now with the planning board, so haven't received first round of comments, so I'm not sure which departments have and have not reviewed yet, but I know
Go
it's,
through all the departments.
Yeah.
So police, the fire.
Yeah.
Public Works, assessor, plus the committees, Conservation Commission, Heritage Commission, all
I-
add to it, and this is what the planning board will get, the whole package.
I suspect I'll get my list from Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to be sure that he catches, particularly since we've had a lot of public comment, I think, in other committees on PFAS and PFAS-related items. I know this isn't exactly that,
Yeah.
but there is seems to be a relationship from a little research I did, that I want to make sure that gets noted in the conversations with Brian and.
Okay.
Brian's very careful. I mean, he nitpicks.
Well, okay. I haven't got anything else.
Okay, Ted?
It looks like you guys have hit the landscaping plans. You guys aren't worried about the angles of the roof for snow load, right? Looked like it was a very short angled roof.
It is. I'm gonna have to rely on
The architect on that.
You know,
Okay,
the structural for
perfect.
that.
Looks like very minimal light is being displayed out of here, if anything, as well as fully engulfed in the trees anyways. And 24,000 square feet of new taxable revenue. I mean, and as well will be hidden. It will almost be in an area that no one will even know it's there in the first place.
Well, we're gonna find out, is going to review the Granite Ridge.
Right. Anyone who drives the Granite Ridge would maybe see the driveway so.
And that's just emergency access, back access. It's not their primary access.
Not even primary access. I mean, it's, wonderful to have a building that no one would even really know it's there.
Yeah, we have some hidden buildings, even hidden houses. You gotta work to find them all. David?
I've got no questions, I see.
Okay. we'll make a recommendation to the planning board as presented.
All right.
And you covered the signage, so looks like you'll probably be less than what the town regs are on that, so.
Yep.
You're all set with us?
Very good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much for your time.
Welcome. And next we have is an application for a design review of a site plan for a warehouse and associated site improvements, along with a conditional use permit. This is for the planning board, for 6,100 square feet of wetland buffer impacts in the Industrial 2 District, 17 Delta Drive, tax map 14, lot 21-12. 17 and 22 Delta Drive is the owner, and LLC is the owner and applicant. So, Earl, haven't seen you in a while, so.
No,
But just introduce yourselves for, our records, please.
thanks. Earl Blatchford from Hayner Swanson, now IMEG. So we're in transition. We've been acquired, for those of you who don't know. We were acquired last July by IMEG, I-M-E-G, so we're in transition as far as our company name, but still Hayner Swanson.
So we'll still see all the Hannah Swanson people.
Yeah, still the same cast of characters. So, yeah, no real big changes right now, but
They ain't gonna mess around with anything.
it's not broken, so they're not gonna
Yeah.
they're not gonna fix it. So, and Greg Smith.
Yep. Yeah, my name's Greg Smith from GSD Associates Architects. So,
So we're, this property is one of 3 properties that was owned by Echo Shoe Company, which was, and the 3 of them were purchased by R.J. Kelly. The ownership entity is 17 and 22 Delta Drive Owner LLC, which is just the ownership entity for R.J. Kelly, who we did the 5 Aviation Park Drive development a few years ago. This is map 14, lot 2112. It's 4.15 acres in the industrial 2 zone. It's located on the north side of Delta Drive, just before the cul-de-sac, approximately a half mile east of the intersection with Harvey Road. The site was part of an industrial subdivision that was done several years ago, and one of the last, there's 2 lots that have not been built on to date, and ours and the one directly across the street. So we're on the west and the south side, we've got industrial zone lots, and to the north and the east of the property, there are conservation lots which are owned by the state of New Hampshire. The lot itself is, it was at least partially cleared several years ago. It's wooded, but it's, a lot of the trees are fairly new growth, kind of thick and young trees. So it's, it has a gravel road that kind of loops around the perimeter, intersects at Delta Drive in 2 places, and goes towards the back of the site and then comes back around along the side lot lines. There are, the topography is relatively moderate, sloping from the road towards the back of the lot, but not terribly steep. It drops off a little more when you get towards the back, relatively flat in the front. There are some wetlands in the northeast corner. There's a drainage swale that comes from the property, from the stormwater management area on the property on the west side and drains onto the property, which was, I assume, part of the master planning that was done at the time the previous properties were done. And then the northeast corner kind of butts up against wetlands that are part of the Little Coas Brook and marsh kind of wetland system. And there is an existing conservation easement that was granted to the state of New Hampshire. In that northeast corner, it's, the area of it is about 0.6 of an acre. All the utilities for the site are all out in Delta Drive, and in addition, there is a sewer interceptor that comes from Delta Drive on the east side of the lot, and then runs along the back of the lot, adjacent to the conservation easement, and then continues in a northwesterly direction off the property. So the proposal is for a 60,000 square foot warehouse building. We're proposing parking in the front for 19 cars. We've got 2 access drives, 2 curb cuts off Delta Drive, and full access driveways so that trucks and fire apparatus and really all vehicles can navigate around the site. We envision for any tractor trailers, they would come in the right-hand or the easterly driveway and circulate in a clockwise manner around the, counterclockwise around the site. So they would come in, drive around to the back into the 2 loading docks in the back, and then when they're leaving, they would just pull out and continue around in a counterclockwise, go out the other driveway. Besides the 2 recessed docks in the back, there's also an overhead door with a ramp access to drive into the building for smaller vehicles. The utility services for the building are all being run in from Delta Drive. There are some service stubs from when Delta Drive was originally built, just master planning for this site. There is a second sewer service proposed on the back. There's one that comes into the front, into the office area, and then one out of the back. The office area is small. It's in that front left corner. It's at a mezzanine level, and then it's 4 feet higher than 4 or 5. Did we end up 5 feet?
It's 4 feet, I think.
Yeah, 4. And then it steps down. The warehouse floor itself is 4 feet lower. We've kind of set up the building to kind of work with the grades, so it's a little higher in the front, and then it grades down in the back. We have utility clearance letters from all the utilities. We have those in hand and have submitted those. The stormwater we're handling in a closed drainage system with collecting the roof in roof drains, tying into manholes, and we have catch basins for the pavement areas. And everything gets collected, pre-treated, and we have a stormwater basin in behind the building, between the building and the conservation easement area. The basin provides detention and further treatment, and then we discharge the stormwater into the conservation easement area where it drains easterly off the site. But we've mitigated the effects of the development with our stormwater system. This is within the Manchester Airport navigation easement area. So we've submitted to the FAA for aeronautical studies for the 4 building corners. We have received determination letters from them. They have no problems with what we're proposing and are not requiring any kind of special lighting or markings on the building. So we're kind of off to the easterly side of that navigation easement. So we have those in hand and have submitted those to the planning board as well. Greg's firm prepared a site lighting plan, which is included in the overall plan package, as well as developing the building shell plans. The site lighting is in accordance, is dark dark sky, full cutoff, LED, similar to the first applicant, mostly wall-mounted lighting. Because of the configuration of the site, we can light a lot of the area adjacent to the building off the building. And then there's, I think, 3 pole-mounted lights in the front and 2 in the back, just for the areas that are a little more remote, and also to better light the 2-axis drives coming off from Delta Drive. See the landscaping is rendered on this plan. And again, the bulk of the landscaping is out front to soften the view from the street, provide street trees. And again, this is at the end of the cul-de-sac in an industrial subdivision. It's away from the traveling public. This is definitely a kind of a destination at the end of the road for specific users. So the proposed user has 14 employees that'll be in the building, and again, we're providing 19 parking spaces. We've asked for a waiver for the planning board to consider and given the reasoning, but this is the parking regs is based on the square footage of the building, but we have a specific number of employees that that will not change, so will not increase. So we have also, there are no wetlands proposed to be disturbed on this, so we have no wetlands permit. We are disturbing more than 100,000 square feet, so we've submitted to DES for an alteration of terrain permit, and we've also submitted to the New Hampshire Fish and Game for their review. This lot is part of the area that where near the airport, where there's an agreement between the town and Fish and Game for a mitigation based on the disturbed square footage of the lot. So that is still in effect, and this lot is one of those properties that qualify for that. And we have a meeting next Tuesday this is our first meeting with the board. We have a meeting with the Conservation Commission to talk about we have a conditional use permit. We are disturbing some of the wetland buffer. There is a 50-foot buffer associated with the larger wetland. There's one wetland swale in the northwest corner. There's no buffer associated with that. It's very limited. It's less than an acre. But the larger wetland system, there is a 50-foot. And for the driveway fire lane access and the stormwater basin in the back, we're proposing to disturb 6,100 square feet of the 50-foot Conservation Overlay District buffer. So we have a conditional use permit application for that, and we'll be talking with the Conservation Commission about that next Tuesday, and also, of course, the Planning Board has the ultimate say on that. That's kind of the overview of the site. I'll turn it over to Greg to just give you an overview of the building elevation and design, and then we'll take any questions that the board, the
Sure.
commission has.
Hi. Thank you. As we're looking at these, the building is intended to be designed out of precast concrete that's insulated. So it'll be brought to the site, tilted up, and pretty much the same process that was done at Aviation Drive, if any of you had seen what was built there. So they go up pretty quick, and then the front, there's a painted exit band and some overhangs, canopies in the front, which is that red stripe, and small signage above the front entrance that meets the requirements of zoning. And then some windows just to get light and also just articulate the facade a little bit, so it's not just all just one big concrete building in the front of the building as well. So the as Earl had mentioned, there's no other lighting on the outside of the building, except for just lighting up the perimeter of the property and in around the loading areas and just means of egress requirements. It's pretty straightforward industrial building, though. The site does slope, as he mentioned. You can see in there the site slope is shown on the drawings, so the foundation has a couple steps in it as well to go along with the grading of the site, and the parking area that is in the front slopes down as well in the front, so. I don't.
So it's kind of like prefab type of structure?
Yeah, they're fabricated with insulated, like, up, they come in different thicknesses, but, essentially a concrete with a sandwich of insulation, foam insulation in between, and then concrete on the inside and the outside for durability. So, and it'll go from the footing all the way up to the roof in one panel, so.
And signage?
There's a signage shown on the building itself, and I believe there might be a signage in the front.
I have, yeah. I
South
haven't gotten
elevation has
kind
a-
of detail.
Says just signage on the side of the building.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know who the final tenant is going to be. So it's just the size of that sign is what's shown there is what the maximum size of the sign is.
So there'll be no freestanding sign, monument sign on the street?
My guess is there'll probably be something in the front, but again, until that tenant might have to come in front and get another signage permit for that.
Yeah, we don't have any details on that. We don't know if
Yeah.
it's gonna be necessary with with the wall sign. We don't know if they'll need a ground sign as
Yeah.
well. But whatever's proposed will be conforming.
Because when you do know, you can either meet with us, or you can just pass the, material along to, Kristen, and then she can disseminate it to the board.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll try to get more information on that as soon as it's available.
Anything, Kristen?
Nope.
No. David C.
Why a white lilac?
I'm sorry?
Why a white, or actually it says ivory lilac in the planting?
I'm not sure. I would have to check. Our consultant did that.
It's just purple lilacs estate.
Yeah, and I'll have to talk to Joe about that.
At least you got lilac, you know?
Yeah, no,
It's okay.
you got lilac, but yeah, I know purple is,
Okay, thank you.
John.
I've got nothing.
Ed.
Would this building be able to be seen from the rail trail? I don't think it will from my experience walking on it, but
I don't think so, but
let me,
with how the elevation works going from the rail trail, I don't think so, but I'm just curious of the lighting, if you'd be able to see it or not, but
yeah, I've got to get,
looks like it's far enough away with the wetlands that are in between, so that was my only potential concern.
I mean, the rail trail.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah, you
you've
can
got,
see the sort of, yeah, right there.
Yeah.
That's really where it is.
yeah.
I think you'd be far enough away that the residents wouldn't be able to see it, so.
Yeah, no, and there's some pretty heavy woods between
yeah.
the two.
Okay.
Yeah, and the elevation probably through there is pretty close to the back of the lot, but there's a lot of woods in between there,
Oh, yeah.
so,
That
yeah,
was my only main concern.
yeah.
Seems like the lighting will be pretty limited these days, and it's not like industrial buildings in the past where it was really light into the sky, so.
Yeah.
No, it's all cut off, and we meet the requirements for the amount of lumens off the property, et cetera.
Yeah,
So
it's-
it's,
Looks from the map like it's 800 feet away from it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we-
Certainly. Certainly, just like the last project, a building that's kind of off to the side that no one would really know it's there, and for another 60,000 square feet to the town, it's wonderful to see new development come to town, so thank you.
good contributor. David?
I've got no questions.
Oh, okay. Any significance to the color red on the overhang?
I believe that's what the client had asked for. so.
Okay. So, we can recommend to the planning board as presented.
Very good.
Thank you,
All
gentlemen.
right,
Thank you for your
thank you.
time.
Appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Yeah, we'll see you again, I'm sure, Earl.
Yes, soon.
Good evening.
You too, thanks. Okay, other business.
I'd like to know what the status is on 2 Litchfield Road, whether the letter was sent out yet.
That was one of my things too, so you beat me to it, David. I had that to cover also, but you're first. We'll just see what's happening with 2 Litchfield Road.
Did you get anything back from that? From 2 Litchfield, did you get anything from Kelly or anything?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Did you get anything from Kelly about 2 Litchfield, David?
Sorry, did I?
Anything, yes, from Kelly?
I haven't heard a thing.
Haven't heard a thing.
My concern is that she said that the lawyers had been talking, that it was, the lawyers were talking. They've been doing this for 2 years now.
Sounds like lawyers, but that's only my opinion.
Well, I'm,
But yes,
I'm concerned that it appears to be a delaying tactic to, I mean, there's been no simple routine maintenance gone on for 2 years. You got bare wood there that's going to rot next winter.
Yes.
I mean, the letter that we asked to have sent out wasn't saying anything about renovation or anything like that. There's no renovation request in there. This is just basic maintenance to stop something deteriorating.
Yes. Yes.
If the letter's not going out, I'd like to push for the council to get involved in it, because I think Kelly might be blocking it.
Yeah,
No, I think a couple
don't
weeks
know.
ago, I did see something, a letter to the property owner. I think I did see a letter, I just don't remember because it was a few weeks ago at least. But there was something.
Yeah, maybe,
sent
maybe,
out.
maybe follow up with Kelly, see what's happening, or even if Kelly could talk to
Okay.
our attorney, and then get back to David about what's happening.
Yeah, if the letter's
and-
gone
and
out,
the
just
commission.
forward me a copy, and
Okay,
if not, maybe at the next meeting, we could request that the lawyer come and say why this isn't progressing.
Yes.
I think we were also looking for an opinion on an inspection on the interior of the building, too. I think that was left
That
open.
was delayed, but I mean, basically, my concern is that we're going to be into winter in another 3 or 4 months. You're not going to be able to do painting then, and if you don't protect the outside, I mean, there might be a need for stuff inside, but that could potentially be delayed. Whereas you can't delay the outside upkeep.
So, I think, actually, the whole commission needs the information on what's happening at 2 Litchfield Road right now, and we need some, we'd like to see some attention, some activity there in regards to, protection of the structure.
I mean, fundamentally, the mere fact that we were not allowed to inspect the inside puts them in breach of easement.
Yeah, that would be between town manager and then
Yeah.
town council.
Yeah. Well, we're about to get a new town manager, so let's not, I suggest we don't dump on him the first day
Right.
he walks through the door.
We'll get them caught up slowly.
I think our best course of action would be to have the opinion from the town attorney who's been working on this, on that matter, on viewing the inside of the property. So I think we should stand there on that one. So if Kristen can get back to us on Kelly and from the town attorney, I think that'd be helpful. Instead
Well-
of trying to go back and forth on this, I think having the answers directly from Kelly and from the town attorney be a better,
The letter, as it was discussed, as I recall, we had sort of thrown out there what we thought was a reasonable deadline to get some of the exterior work done, which I
Yeah.
believe was in the fall.
Yeah.
I think maybe at this point, if it's appropriate, maybe the whole committee should see a copy of the letter.
Yeah,
And I would just as soon not wait till July, our next meeting, to see that. So if we could get, I don't know if email is permissible or something like that, but if we could get copies of the letter to the committee members, I think that would be,
Yeah, because I
beneficial.
think sending an email to, the committee is fine. I think it's when we get communicating by email with each other
that's fine.
that constitutes a meeting. And,
or at least a transcript stating that it did go out.
Well,
Because I think that's our big concern is, did this go out or not, right?
well, I'd like to see what the final letter looked like.
yes, I would as
There's that
well.
as well, yep.
And I think the second thing was, and I don't recall frankly, but if we hadn't addressed the interior inspection, and considering, with all due respect, the endless delays in getting this moving forward, I think we need to push on that a little bit, new town manager or not. And
Right, and that's why I had said that we should have the opinion from the attorney on where that stands.
for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, really, this has been a long time coming. And the other thing I would suggest to you is today I had an opportunity to drive past that barn that was an emergency knockdown there, and the emergency couldn't have been too dire because the barn is still there.
Yeah, I don't know where that stands.
Well, having given our approval for the demolition, you can hardly reopen it.
I'm not
Yeah.
looking to, but it causes me to doubt, frankly, everything to do with this piece of property right now.
Yes, I would agree with you there.
Although real
The-
estate development takes time, so
Yeah.
whatever they were planning to do with that taken down, I mean, I can assume that nothing
Keeping in
happened
mind that it
overnight.
was presented to us as an emergency,
correct.
Yeah,
okay?
In fact, I think we had a special meeting
Mm.
for it.
I mean, I think I heard things about a risk to the general public, and frankly, we've had town committees now touch this thing, including, I think the town council has touched it a couple times in meetings. And we're probably somewhat on the hook for if something happens with that building now. We basically said, take it down. You wanted it, we approved it, take it down, and it's still there.
Okay,
So what's the action step, Mr. Chair?
so, first we'll communicate with Kelly and Kelly with our attorney to get a letter from our attorney to us about what is going on, what's the status of that building.
Yes.
And then we can discuss that at our meeting in July.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is, you see, if that building is just allowed to deteriorate through another winter or so, we're heading in the same direction with that building as we are with the barn, or were.
The whole intent was to preserve that property. And that's why the legal agreement between the owner, which the subsequent owner has agreed to.
I mean, the easement gives this commission a lot of power over that. I mean, we could have insisted on having our own inspector look at the barn and have the homeowner pay for it.
Yeah.
The easement allows the town to appoint or require one that reports to the town on the condition, not to the owner.
Yes. But I think once,
It's history, let's not waste time on it.
yeah, our new town manager catches up, I'm sure there'll be other pending priorities
Mhm.
get done. Okay, any other business?
Yes, at the last meeting, like Chris asked me to prepare a report about what's happened at the Historical Society, because we got approval. And so I wrote it up. You want me to read it, or just give them out to you, and you all can read them and put them in the trash? What's your choice?
You can hand it, you can read it also for the record here too, David.
Well, I can send a copy of the
Oh,
text.
And
To
attach
John.
that to the minutes.
Yeah,
Yep, I can do that.
okay. And then there's copies for everybody else.
Let me pass it down.
Okay. Thank. Okay, so you don't have to read it now, but anyway. Several years ago, I had a request from the planner to get approval from this commission.
David, can
Do
you move
some
the
work.
microphone closer to you?
Pardon?
Can you move the microphone closer?
Oh, okay. Several years ago, the planner asked that I get permission from the commission to have some work done maintenance work done at the Historical Society, where I'm the treasurer. And so this is just a report of what happened. I also noted in here that after number 9, there says, "A previous planner insisted upon getting commission approval for the activities outlined. I have discussed this with several commission members, and it was felt that the society does not need to request permission for every maintenance need. And so we won't be doing that. If there is some alteration to a structure, then I would come back for permission to do that. Or otherwise, painting, whatever. If I paint it green,
It's all
the
part,
barn, why, then I'd come back for that. But just so long as we sort of keep going in the same direction, fixing things up as we go along.
yeah. like,
Why, I don't think I need to
removing
come
buildings,
back to do that.
buildings and,
So, and I just, on one of them today, I just mentioned about security, and one of the last things, why I did sign a contract today to have that work done, which was extending some of the service and replacing some of the units with better units. So, almost everything has been accomplished that we asked for. But
Progress,
it's
that's
taken
good.
at least 4 years. I know for the electrician alone, I've been through 4 electricians. One was sick. He got better. Then his helper got sick. He referred me to another one. And that person got sick with, what's the disease? Lyme disease. So he was sorry about that, and they sent me on to the 4th one, and the 4th one got the thing done. But it took over a year, and I know there was another one I had, but gave me a bid, and then when all this happened, I ended up with this last person. I asked the other person to rebid, and they didn't bother doing it. So anyway, I think we got at least a reasonably good deal for what we wanted to have done to expand the service. It just took forever to get it done.
pretty much a saga. Yeah, pretty much, because it's in the historic district, so it's like following the regulations of the historic district, which is
No, right,
external changes and
yeah.
things like that.
And aside from that, I'm also on the demolition review. And there was one for a barn up on Wiley Hill Road. But then the building inspector or the building department determined that it was in such bad shape, they didn't even want to go through the process of having a demolition review. And so it it hasn't been torn down, but it got into the status of we don't need to review it, we're going to tear it down. So that's been at least 2 months, I think. I could be wrong, but about 2 months. It's standing. I went by today. It's still there. So that's all I have to report.
I'm sorry, the demolition.
It
we
came
didn't
before the
have to-
Demolition Review
Didn't have to
Committee.
review it because it was in such bad shape it needed demolition.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, we were asked
That
to,
makes sense.
they started the process, but then all of a sudden it got to be such that it was in such bad condition, they wanted to be able to take it down right away. And whoever else in the building department agreed with them. So it
Sounds like
didn't
a
go
similar
before us,
property.
But, pardon?
Sounds like a similar property.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's still up there.
Nothing happens fast.
Right. Well, I'm only curious, just because of the age of it, and possibly being able to take some pictures of how the framing of it, to get a better idea of how old it really is. But I don't dare go on the property without asking the owner.
Yeah. Okay, I just had two things. One, I think at some point, have someone from the certified local government, because we are a certified local government, which is a historic thing for its grant application. And we have to do an update on our, list of historic properties. So what we, previously, we'd thought is utilizing or applying for a grant to have during the summer, a student come in and kind of like, manage it. But it hasn't happened. We've gone through changes in the planning department, and probably the best thing would be start from someone from the certified local government, the New Hampshire, Division of Historic, I don't know, I've forgotten the full title of it. Explain it to us, and maybe preferably by, probably be easier for them by Zoom. We can do Zoom connections now. But Brandy Laughlin is one of the contacts that I hear from on a regular basis. And I think annually we have a questionnaire to fill out on what we've done. It's been the same questionnaire, I know, for the last 5 or 6 years. Not that we've done a lot, but a lot of the grants, you have to have a contribution also, local level. It's not as easy as just, it's a process.
Well,
But at least we can start investigating, how that can help us, and just to talk to someone and let them know we're still here also. I still get the email, so I think they know that we're still here. And the other is, I think going back probably about 2 years now, we had taken pictures. This is to update the Londonderry Lookbook. And then Kelly had kind of taken ownership of it along with Cheerston.
Yes, remember we had a meeting about a year ago about that.
Yes, yeah.
I don't know if that's been updated or changed. I know we had a joint meeting between us and the planning board, and I don't know if that's been updated or if
Not
there's
yet.
been any changes, so I don't know where that stands, and
I've talked with Cheerston, and she's essentially said she has a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
So it's not a priority. So maybe once we get town manager coming on, it'll ease up some of her load, but.
though I think that is an important item to have as when developers come to town, for them to know what kind of architectural looks we'd be looking for. They actually know within imagery instead of just within words. And when, right now, I feel like it's not as defined as it should be. It'd be
Right.
nice if they could get moving on that. I mean,
It would, I think, be most helpful for developers because they have an idea. I think they're somewhat trained now with the current lookbook that we have. But what has happened recently is the town of Candia has a lookbook. And Candia, I think, is going through a update with their master plan. And Sylvia Van Orlock is, working with them, Southern New Hampshire Planning. And Sylvia is very enamored of our lookbook and has mentioned it to all the towns in Southern New Hampshire Planning. So they were picking up after us because, so, I mean, we've started something, and of course, as a town, we can't copyright anything, so. I know in the past, we've had a lot of, some of our, planning tools have been get copied by other towns, which is good.
it's nice to hear.
And it
I'll
has
do
been
that.
used, because there's been a number of the people come through here saying that they've looked through it and
They've looked
gotten
through it.
some ideas out of it. So it's useful.
It'd
That's
just be nice,
something-
I know we had quite a discussion about a year ago with a lot more different styles being added or
Yes,
being updated.
because we're all
And
charged to going out and taking pictures of what we,
Yeah.
what we like and submitting 5 of them. So Kelly has all the pictures.
Kelly or Kirsten?
Kelly,
Both.
Kelly does, how much, Kirsten was actually gonna put it together in a book, or doing the formatting of them. Kelly had the pictures, so,
I'm not
Okay.
sure who it stands with at this point.
yeah. So between the two of them, I think there's, either one or the other, well,
Okay.
maybe they both know. I don't know. I don't think it's been an active project, because,
I haven't heard of it until now,
yeah,
so.
with just Kelly here was a frantic time, so.
Though I will say, I wish we had the architectural designs that we were presented with the new development at Woodmont at the time, because I think the architectural designs that they're looking to have with that new development going on the north side of Pillsbury, that would have been, that really fits, I think, a lot with what we're looking for in the town.
Yeah. I don't know if they looked at it or not. I know they were before us and all planning board also, so. All I can recall of it is something that looked attractive.
Yes,
I mean,
very
it
New
wasn't
Englandy,
all, it wasn't all the same, you know,
No.
thank goodness it was all
well,
different.
very New Englandy. and-
Yes.
You know what, that would have been beneficial tonight. I mean, frankly, neither of these buildings that were presented tonight were, well, neither one of them made me dance. I don't know how you guys felt, but,
They were like,
but, I mean, it would be nice if somebody gave a little bit of attention to the exteriors of these buildings, hidden as these two facilities were primarily, but I mean,
I think it's hard when it's a metal building.
yeah,
I
it's,
got a metal building and a concrete building presented tonight, gentlemen. It
Yeah.
was not one of our better nights.
No, well, I also question, why do we
They-
speak about a metal building?
yeah, to me, they just look industrial, so it's, which is, you know,
But they can look attractive.
yeah, yeah,
There are some, and I took some pictures of some of the buildings that were industrial buildings that looked attractive because of the design elements in them.
mm,
They were more than just a box.
yeah. I mean, I don't know how much of an architect this guy did, but it's usually what an architect is told to do. Some of them will just, it's just basic, because the developer doesn't want to spend money. Others, you know, especially bigger companies, design something very elaborate and has some of their motifs and everything.
I tell you what, if you want to have an interesting experience, drive down Delta Drive and look at those buildings. There are some things that aren't particularly attractive, but there are some decent looking buildings on that street.
Yeah.
It's worth the drive, you know, because we didn't add to it tonight, guys, so. I mean,
It's the end of the street, though.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
but we could say all kinds of things. We didn't,
Yeah,
this is not an IM pay, so.
It's probably about 20 years ago, I think, there was 2 lots that were used for a rock crushing operation. Wasn't exactly very sightly or anything, and a lot of complaints about the trucks hauling stuff off from up there, but it's gone. I think those properties have been developed, so. Plus it was loud. Sometimes you could even hear it from a few miles away. So, anything else?
I had just one quick one, and kind of reaching into the past, and this is a David Ellis, I think. You had brought up some lists of historical properties to which we were wondering if the town was going to subscribe and join, and there was a cost, but then the cost was going to go
Well,
away.
it's free now.
And have we joined? Are we involved? Do we?
I don't know. Anyone that wants to can get an account. I mean, I have a personal account there. You're referring to the Emmet database, the
Yeah.
Division of Historic Resources.
Right.
I use it as a reference point all the time. I mean, as a private citizen, about 2-3 months ago, I submitted the history of the Morrison Meeting House to New Hampshire DHR. You can do it as a private citizen, so that gets recorded in the Emmet database. It'll be researched and reviewed by them, But if they decide that my research is valid and the thing is of interest, it will end up in there as a recorded historic thing. Now, Art, a number of years ago, you created a list of historic properties in the town here, right?
That was
You
done,
mentioned it.
yeah, it was a ad hoc committee from,
Right.
I think, our 2004 master plan. There were four committees. One of them was
Yeah.
working with owners of historic properties and, you know, what they
Right.
wanted and everything.
But that list is in the town. Now, the interesting thing is that there is very little overlap between the historic properties that the DHR knows about and that list. Most of those properties on your list should be added to the New Hampshire DHR list.
Yes, because I know the only criteria we had was John Dulford. I think David probably remembers
Yeah,
John. And,
He was one of the reviewers,
Yes.
Yeah.
He
And,
and Steve Young.
Steve Young.
Yeah, I've mentioned it before as well, but you see, the DHR list, as a heritage commission, the guidelines, the state guidelines to heritage commissions are that we should look at that list when something comes before us. And if it isn't something that's enforceable, so if a developer comes in and says, yeah, I know it's listed, I'm going to ignore it and bulldoze it, you can't stop him, nor
Yes.
can the state. But it is our function as a heritage commission to talk to them, make sure they're aware when something like that exists, because maybe they can be convinced to keep a little bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know the criteria we used.
Yeah, you had a 75% complete,
75%
original.
authentic on the outside of the structure. It had to be over
100
100
years
years
old.
old. It had to have either architectural or structural historical significance or just a pure historical significance.
Yeah,
And I think the fourth one was, it was up to the commission if someone submitted they wanted to be on the list to make that
Yes.
judgment.
yeah. The New Hampshire one, it doesn't have an age limit. Something can be historically significant. Let's suppose Mr. Trump comes and pays you a personal visit at your house. Your house is now historically significant.
Oh, boy.
Right. And NHDHR would be very interested in listing it because of that.
Interesting.
It's like George Washington was here.
Yeah, it's basically, if the property was historically significant, it doesn't matter how old it was.
Interesting.
The other thing is that, what was it they list? Well, I said, yeah, that it's not an enforceable thing, but it is something that we're supposed to look at. And
Yes,
Check.
because from the original list, there are two houses, or the individuals did not want to be on the list, and so they were
Right.
taken off.
Now, as far as NHDHR is concerned, that's irrelevant because it doesn't encumber them in any way. They're merely trying to track, is it historic?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, all we got is just to track structures and, you know, let the owners know. And I know at one time, but when we did the list, the owners on that list all knew. That's why two decided not to be on it. They didn't want to be encumbered by everything. They thought they were going to be encumbered by anything, but they were just on a list.
Yeah.
But also from that group was created by the town council at that time, is looking for helping people with historic properties with tax reductions. David and I had, it was Tim Thompson put together some legislation, and we've
Yeah.
gone with, Al Baldessaro had submitted it. Sharon Carson.
Sharon Carson.
Also. And so we traipsed up to Concord for, hearing and everything, and they thought, like what we had was great, but the assessor from the city of Portsmouth objected. And basically, he said,
Well,
all our
what, the whole
property
entire
was
city would be a
historic.
historic property then, right?
Yeah.
We'd lose all of our tax money.
I think when you raised it last time, Art, you raised it with Kristen. I forwarded you an extract from the book that I'd done about early Londonderry settlers, because there are about 25 properties in there that are also on your list. So
Okay,
we've got a
cool.
lot more detail than is on your list about some of those properties.
Yeah, there's not much detail on the list. It was like
No,
a picture and then I guess just briefly
Yeah.
what it is. And I think it came from the assessor's information on
Yeah.
on it.
a lot of it came off the town GIS system, basically, the property record cards.
Yes, yeah.
I did some research on about 25 properties around town, and they're all part of your list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's really all we got. It was on our website, but what I found on the website didn't contain the whole list. Somehow it didn't all get up there. I've got a paper copy. I don't know if, I was asking Kelly, when she first started, you know, if she had it, and I guess.
I've got copies of all your original stuff. I acquired that a number of years ago.
Good, but evidently we couldn't find it in here, so, but we do have it.
So I thought that the objective of this list was that we wanted to interject this in the review process when we had new properties. Not so much the extension of a Delta Drive or something like that, but something new being built where, like that one
Yeah.
property we looked at on the other side
Yeah,
of
when a
93.
developer comes forward, what we should do is say, what's the address? Check the Emmett database. Is there anything in there? If there is, then add it to the briefing materials.
And David, wasn't there also, excuse my language, a secret base too, where they weren't telling?
There is they have a list of archaeological sites as well. But the only way you can deal with that is for you or the developer to send the information to them, and then they will tell you whether or not they'll review it and say whether or not there's something there. Well, the problem is that you have situations of people vandalizing archaeological sites. They'll go in with metal detectors and things like that.
You would think the town would at least
And
have access to that.
no, it's a universal worldwide standard in archaeology that they do not make these known to the public. They don't go out of their way to advertise them, so they obviously aren't going to put a list out. Now, if you have a degree in archaeology, then they'll allow you to see the information.
It's kind of hard to come by these days.
But, yeah,
But was there a process question here where a new building is, a new facility is gonna be built? We wanna check it against the first list we talked about, and
Yeah.
maybe we can do that, or maybe.
We can do that
planning-
easily.
Or planning could do that as part of the process before it gets to us here.
planning
Okay.
could and should do it.
Okay, but perhaps, again, thinking about new undeveloped properties, not that there's that many
Yeah.
spaces, planning could do or have the developer shoot the letter to this organization and say, we're
Right.
building here,
Yes.
do you have anything you
Yeah,
wanna tell
if
us?
it's a greenfield development, the developer should contact DHR. For example, I raised one at an earlier meeting about the old rum trail. They've since been in touch with me a couple of times asking questions about the research that I did. You know, the Merrill farm up in North Londonderry there, if you ever get greenfield development up there, there have been Indian artifacts found up there. The Historical Society had a couple in its inventory list. So you get any development up there, that should go to
Well, that's been
NHDHR.
put into conservation easement. So we
It
shouldn't
may
be
be.
seeing any.
Yeah. I don't know.
No, that was put into conservation easement.
Is that, okay.
Yes, the.
That was about 2
Yeah.
years ago.
But there are others around. There's another one over, there were some Indian points found, you know where Pretori's paving is over
Oh, the
on
Darien
Rockingham Road in that general area. There were some Indian artifacts found near the stream, so You gotta be careful of anything around the stream.
Yeah, and I remember the state came down for an archaeological study on the property where the Historical Society is
Right.
because of the expansion and the old foundation there, which I think that was the barn. The barn burned, I think, early 1900s. I can't think of the name, it escaped me right now. But they had researched all around it, did diggings and everything.
Yeah, they did that because of the multipurpose path going in front of it.
Oh, yes,
So that was a reason for that work being done.
Yeah, the Lithia Spring one is one of the archaeological ones. I mean, we know about some of these things because they crop up. When they were doing the Exit 4A planning, I went to one of the meetings there and I learned from what the state had that there were 2 or 3 sites over there. One of them was the old Rum Trail. There was some early development right up on the top of the hill, but that was in the piece where the state put its road in, but it was reviewed and said, oh yeah, you've got to put the road in.
because I know from time to time, both the commission and the Historical Society has gotten, notification from the, Division of Historical Resources about work going on and like knowledge that we have
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, they'll tell you from time to time.
Yeah.
But
And especially with cell towers going in.
yeah, the problem is, you see, there's no simple list or database that the people like ourselves can go to and look it up. We have to go to them and say, here's what we want to do. Is there anything nearby we need to avoid?
So, this has certainly been enlightening, but what are we gonna do? Okay, so what I would suggest is, this is probably a Kelly call, in terms of a process change. And maybe we could, if she could make a meeting, or maybe Kristen, you can speak with her, and just say, look, and David, you have to fill in the blanks for me. There are
Yeah.
2 lists that, of one we can access and one we have to request information about when we have greenfielded property, before I would suggest it comes to Heritage.
Yes.
I think it has to go through staff first, and maybe they can have the developer do it, but staff needs to look at, are there any archaeological digs that we should be aware of? That would be the list we request.
I think that the way you want to approach it, John, is first of all, if a developer brings something into planning, planning should look at the location. They should look at the Emmet database and see if there is anything in the Emmet database at that location. If there is, you can download all the PDF files. They should also, if it's a greenfield development, and it would need to be a greenfield development, because if it's already got something there, don't worry. But if it's a greenfield development, make sure that the developer has a statement in there that he has contacted DHR and had some sort of response from them.
Is that enough to
That's the best
cover
we
us,
can do, I think.
or should we request that planning make that contact? And that way we have a verified,
You could request that.
Yeah, because when a plan first comes in, it really goes to,
Yeah, that's going to put
between
a,
Kristen and Kelly.
that's going to put a delay in it, because you won't get an immediate response from DHR. They're going to mull this over for a week or 2 and dig into it. Whereas if you require the developer to bring in a statement that says he has submitted it and had a response, then it's done before it comes to planning.
so he'd be bringing in his response. from
Yeah,
the-
he'd be bringing in his response or a statement
That's
that
fine.
says it's been reviewed.
So maybe Kelly could add that to, the process.
Well,
Yeah.
we would ask Kelly to consider it and then give us feedback on it, obviously,
Yeah.
so.
Yes.
And so there's been a lot of knocking around here. Have you been able to follow it? I
Yeah,
know
I
I've
took- I
fallen
took- I
off the
took some
trail a couple of
notes.
times already.
Yeah, it's probably, I think, best to have someone on staff to have access to the Emmett database. And, if any member of the commission is interested also. I know David,
Any of us can. I mean, I've got access, and if I see something come in, I mean, the last thing I saw, there was development going on that it was on our agenda and then it was pulled off. So I think something happened up on Stonehenge on the west side of Rockingham Road between that and I-93
Yes.
that was going to
There was supposed to be-
demolish a very historic building.
I don't know what happened to that.
Yeah, it was the corner of Stonehenge and 28, I believe.
Yeah.
don't
I know
what
I
happened.
saw it on the agenda and looked it up, and suddenly it's,
I don't know.
it was something that's actually eligible for not just state recognition, it's federally recognizable.
Oh, interesting.
It's that significant.
Maybe that's why they backed out.
Hmm?
Maybe that's why they backed out.
Yeah. Yeah, it was architecturally, it was built in the 1950s or 60s,
Interesting.
50s, I think. Art might know that. It was a particular style of building, and this particular one was one that had no alterations or anything. It had something like 3 porch pillars had been added that could have been removed, and that was the only thing that was wrong.
I'm trying to recall. Probably need my mind jolted.
Because there was some interesting paperwork that went along, if I'm thinking of the same place, in terms of some racial restrictions in that neighborhood.
Yeah. It was before I became an alternate member on this commission, because I looked it up as a private citizen. I was going to come in and comment.
Yeah, usually things I can't remember. The next day, oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
Move we adjourn.
Actually, I gotta make sure there's public input. There's no member of the public here, so there's no public input. And I'll take a motion.
Move we adjourn.
Motion by David for
Second.
adjournment. Second by Ted. All
Okay.
those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
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 We are adjourned. Vote is 5-0-0.